Have you ever wondered if the person who is meant to change your life is already out there, quietly thinking about you, hoping that one day your paths will finally cross? And what if the biggest surprise isn't where they live, what they look like, or what they do for a living? What if the surprise is that they're younger than you, and yet, somehow, they love you with a depth that completely defies expectations? Before you dismiss the idea, stay with me, because by the end of this story, you may see love, and timing, in a completely different way. Age has always been one of the first things people notice. We measure birthdays, count years, and let numbers shape expectations before we've even learned someone's heart. Society has written countless unwritten rules about who should love whom and when love is considered acceptable. But history tells a different story. Again and again, the greatest relationships weren't built on matching timelines. They were built on shared purpose, unwavering loyalty, and a connection that survived every obstacle placed in its path. The Bible reminds us in 1 Samuel 16 verse 7 that people look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. That single verse carries an incredible truth. Hearts cannot be measured by calendars. Wisdom isn't guaranteed by age. And genuine love refuses to fit neatly into human expectations. Now imagine someone you've never fully noticed. Maybe they've crossed your path once. Maybe you've spoken only briefly. Or maybe they're still somewhere you've never been. They're younger than you. Not just by months. Perhaps several years. Yet every experience they've lived has quietly prepared them to recognize something extraordinary when they finally meet you. But here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. Because while you're wondering whether someone like that could exist, they've already been wondering about you. They've imagined conversations with someone they haven't even met yet. They've questioned why people their own age never seem to understand them. They've felt strangely different. Almost as if they were waiting for someone carrying a different kind of maturity. Someone who could calm their storms instead of creating new ones. And that realization changes everything. But before we continue, there's another question you need to ask yourself. Why does age create so much fear? Think about it. Most fears surrounding age differences don't come from personal experience. They come from opinions, cultural expectations, family assumptions, stories repeated for generations. Psychologists often describe this as social conditioning. Our brains naturally absorb the beliefs repeated around us. Over time, those beliefs begin feeling like facts. Yet history constantly challenges those assumptions. Many successful relationships have flourished because two people valued emotional compatibility over appearances. Shared character mattered more than matching birth certificates. Mutual respect became stronger than public opinion. And perhaps that's exactly why this story matters. Because the person we're talking about isn't chasing excitement. They're searching for peace. They aren't impressed by popularity. They're drawn toward authenticity. They don't admire perfection. They're captivated by kindness. Without realizing it, they've been looking for someone whose life experience has shaped patience instead of pride. Someone who has survived disappointment without allowing bitterness to take over. Someone exactly like you. But something still stands in the way. Fear. Not their fear. Yours. Because somewhere deep inside, a voice whispers. What if people judge us? What if it doesn't work? What if the difference becomes too much? Those questions are understandable. Every meaningful relationship carries uncertainty. Even couples born on the exact same day face challenges. No number can guarantee lasting love. Only commitment can. Only trust can. Only daily choices can. Ecclesiastes reminds us that two are better than one because they strengthen each other. Notice what that verse doesn't mention. It doesn't mention age. It speaks about partnership, support, loyalty, purpose. Those qualities never expire. And here's the part few people expect. Sometimes the younger person brings hope. The older person brings wisdom. Together they become stronger than either could have become alone. It's not competition. It's completion. Still, the journey isn't easy. Friends may misunderstand. Family members may hesitate. Strangers may offer opinions no one asked for. But every great love story has always faced resistance. Think about the people throughout history who challenged accepted norms. Progress rarely begins with approval. It begins with courage. Imagine two roads. One leads toward comfort. The other leads toward possibility. Most people choose comfort because it feels safe. Yet the greatest chapters of life usually begin with uncertainty. Every meaningful friendship starts with one conversation. Every marriage starts with one decision. Every unforgettable love story starts when two people decide that fear no longer deserves control. Now imagine your soulmate standing at that same crossroads. They're nervous too. They're asking themselves whether you'll see beyond the age difference. Whether you'll recognize the person behind the number. Whether you'll allow yourself to discover the connection instead of rejecting it before it begins. They don't expect perfection. They simply hope for a chance. And perhaps that's all genuine love has ever needed. A chance. One honest conversation. One open heart. One moment brave enough to silence years of doubt. Researchers who study long-term relationships consistently find that qualities like communication, trust, shared values, and emotional support predict success far more reliably than age alone. That's worth remembering. Because lasting relationships aren't built on statistics. They're built on daily acts of kindness. Tiny moments repeated over years. Listening when it's easier to argue. Forgiving when pride says don't. Laughing together even after difficult days. Those ordinary moments become extraordinary over time. Maybe that's why true love often arrives wearing unexpected clothes. It doesn't always match our plans. It doesn't always follow our schedules. Sometimes it surprises us. Sometimes it humbles us. Sometimes it quietly asks us one simple question. Are you willing to see with your heart instead of your assumptions? If the answer is yes, everything changes. Because suddenly you stop asking whether someone is too young. Instead, you begin asking whether they're honest, whether they're loyal, whether they make you a better person, whether they inspire your faith, whether your lives move in the same direction. Those questions matter infinitely more. As this story comes to an end, remember this. Love has never been about finding someone who satisfies every expectation created by society. It's about finding someone whose character brings peace to your soul. Someone who encourages your growth. Someone who chooses you every single day. Whether that person is younger, older, or exactly your age, the foundation remains the same. Respect, trust, sacrifice, grace, and hope. Perhaps the greatest lesson isn't about age at all. Perhaps it's about refusing to let fear make decisions that only love should make. If this story made you stop and think, let it remind you that every meaningful relationship deserves to be judged by the quality of the hearts involved, not by the numbers attached to them. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling us one thing you believe matters most in a lasting relationship. Until next time, keep your heart open, your mind humble, and never underestimate the extraordinary ways life can surprise you. What if the very thing you've been questioning is the same thing that has been quietly preparing both of your hearts for an extraordinary connection? Think about that for a moment. Not every meaningful relationship begins with fireworks. Some begin with a strange feeling of familiarity. A conversation that lasts much longer than expected. A smile that somehow feels like coming home. An unexpected sense of peace that doesn't need to be explained. Sometimes, the strongest connections don't arrive with loud announcements. They appear gently, almost unnoticed, until one day you realize that person has become impossible to forget. Now imagine this. Your soulmate has spent years wondering why they never truly fit in with people their own age. While friends chased temporary excitement, they found themselves searching for deeper conversations. While others measured success by popularity, they valued loyalty. While many focused on appearances, they kept asking questions about purpose, faith, family, and the future. At first, they believed something was wrong with them. Why did everyone else seem satisfied with shallow relationships? Why did they feel drawn toward maturity instead of drama? They couldn't explain it. But every unanswered question was quietly shaping the person they were becoming. And perhaps, it was preparing them to recognize someone like you. Because maturity isn't determined by the number of birthdays you've celebrated. It's revealed by how you respond to life's hardest moments. Anyone can smile when everything is going well. Character is revealed when life becomes difficult. Your soulmate has already experienced disappointment. They've trusted the wrong people. They've watched promises disappear. They've carried heartbreak they rarely talk about. Those experiences didn't make them bitter. They made them wiser. That's why they no longer chase temporary attention. They're searching for something real. Something lasting. Something that feels safe. And here's what makes this story even more compelling. Without realizing it, you've been growing in the same direction. Every challenge you've survived has taught you patience. Every setback has strengthened your resilience. Every unanswered prayer has deepened your faith. At the time, those seasons may have felt meaningless. But looking back, they became preparation. Preparation often looks like delay while you're living through it. Only later do you recognize that every chapter had a purpose. Throughout Scripture, timing plays an extraordinary role. Think about Joseph. Years passed between his dreams and their fulfillment. What seemed like endless waiting eventually became the very path that placed him exactly where he needed to be. Or think about Ruth. After unimaginable loss, she could have believed her future was over. Instead, one faithful step after another led her toward a new beginning she never could have imagined. Again and again, these stories remind us that meaningful chapters often begin after seasons of uncertainty. Perhaps relationships are no different. Maybe every delay has been teaching both of you something essential before your paths finally cross. But here's the question few people ask. If this connection is meant to grow, why hasn't it happened already? The answer may be simpler than it seems. People don't just meet. They become ready to meet. Imagine trying to build a house before the foundation is complete. No matter how beautiful the design appears, it won't last. Strong foundations require time. Relationships are remarkably similar. Your soulmate needed experiences that taught humility.